Hi loves, welcome. This is the Everything Not Perfect podcast, and I am your host Liz. So I'm very excited that today we are here again having a conversation. And honestly, the more I keep doing this, the more I get comfortable. But guess what? Today we are outside. So today I decided to tell me, say me and I'm not to meet. So I decided to come bond with nature today, and I'm loving it. Actually, my scene outside my house is so beautiful and I love the view. But let's try to dive into what we're actually going to be talking about today. So far so good. I feel like this conversation that we've been having about insecurities, personally, it's something that I feel has helped me a whole lot to get to where I'm at now. So probably if you might be wondering, why are we having conversations about insecurities? I feel like based on my own personal journey of like being where I'm at now, it was as a result of me dealing with most of my insecurities, and that's why I feel like it's very important for us to have conversations like this, right? And it's a very tough conversation because honestly not all of us can tap into understanding why we feel like we can't do the things we want to do, or why we feel intimidated to do the things that we really want to do. But all these things can happen as a result of the things that you've been told before in the past, and these things can grow into you as insecurities, and they can be the reason why you are still in that space of limitation and not being the best version of yourself and not doing the things you really want to do with your life. And I've been that type of individual for a very long time in my life, and honestly I never liked it because it led me to that space of feeling depressed. It led me to that space of being toxic to people. My behavior with people was somehow not what I wanted. The vibe and everything was not given, and most of the time it was as a result of these insecurities I had within me that honestly, in my opinion, I felt like these things were subconscious. I wasn't aware that I was operating in this way as a result of my insecurities. So that's why I feel like it's very necessary that we have these conversations, because it's as a result of me dealing with my own insecurities one step at a time. I got to that point of like believing that, you know what, I can really just step outside and do the things I want to do, and actually allow myself to have that opportunity of being who I want to be, not based on the things that happen to me negatively, but based on what I feel like I want people to know about me. And that was a decision I took some time ago, but honestly it was as a result of me getting this connection with knowing that, you know, something is wrong, there's a problem. And most of the problem came out of me dealing with certain insecurities I had in the past. So that's why I'm very passionate about this conversation that we are having in this month of October about insecurities, because I know that one way or the other, the awareness that you can get from everything that we keep talking about, it will help you to build a healthy relationship with your insecurities, because insecurities in totality just has this ability to keep you limited. And I don't want that for you, because I've seen it worked in my life. I was depressed. I never really liked my personality. The vibe was not giving. People coming into my life were being affected just because of the way I thought about myself and the way I perceive the world and perceive myself. And I don't want that for you. That's why we are actually unpacking everything about insecurities, so that you can build a healthy relationship with them. And it's not like they are not going to come again in your life, but because of the new mindset that you can develop about these things based on the conversations we are having, I feel like you can be at a better place to like act differently and approach things differently. And that is actually what I want for you, because honestly that's what I'm doing in my life as well. So without no further ado, what we are going to touch on today is about redefining our insecurities. In the last conversation, if this is your first time coming across my video, we are on this matter of like getting to know our insecurities better, so that we can build a relationship, a healthy one at that with it. And the last conversation was about the misconceptions about insecurities, the lies that most of us, well, particularly me, that I used to know about insecurities, and how I felt like these lies affected my life. So if you've not yet watched that video, be sure to go watch it, so that you will know exactly whose side this thing you go and where we are at. Because today, as I mentioned, redefining insecurities is what we are going to do. So let's try to get right into it. So how do I plan to go about this conversation? So basically, the aim is for us to understand these insecurities now that we might have within us and we don't know about them. I want to get to that point of helping you understand where these things can come from. I'm not going to touch on everything, but I just want to give you a glimpse of like where these things can come from, how they can develop, and how they can show up in your life. And then we can get to the part of redefining them. But in the area of redefining your insecurities, I'm not a professional, so I'm just going to share with you tips that I felt like worked for me, which I actually practically applied in my life, and it worked worked for me. And then I'm going to share with you as well resources that you can use away from my podcast so that you can go deeper into this whole journey of redefining your insecurities and having a mindset about them that can help you to healthily approach them whenever they pop up in your life. Because as I mentioned, these things are not things that can go away for life, but you can think differently about them so that you can have the life you want even though they are still existing like that. So that's it, guys. Let's flesh things out now. Okay, so the first place that your insecurities can come from naturally is from past experience. Like, things happened to you before, right? And this can be as a result of the relationships you were in. It can be as a result of your childhood experience or anything so far so good that happened in your past, as long as it was something that was negative, right? And they created like some perception within your head, and these perceptions can now be the result of your behavior. So the example I'll give for this is some of us that have been in relationships, things happen in these relationships that were somehow negative, and for that reason some of us can come out of relationships thinking that men are scum. Some of us can come out of relationships considering women as people that we should fear. But all these thoughts that you can get about women, about men, is most times as a result of that negative experience you had with that one person, right? And this can make you now to look at all the people that you are dating and coming across the same way. But honestly, this is the thing that insecurities does. Those experiences now build up as a shield that you use to protect yourself to not be in that same situation again. Like, you don't want the same experience to happen to you again. But all of that are insecurities, right? But now, how can you redefine this is what we are going to tap into, because it's not like now you are going to be letting your guard down. But at the end of the day, I don't think that things that happened in the past should have that power over your present and then control the way you behave with people in a very negative way. Now that you're not allowing yourself to receive the love you should receive anymore, because now you think that that thing happened to you in the past, in that relationship, with that friendship, in that working place, in that school, and all that stuff. These are things that can limit the way you behave with people, and all of that can actually limit you from enjoying life at its fullest, and that's not what I want for you. And the other place again concerning your past experience that your insecurities can come from is from your childhood experience. Like all of us has gone through childhood, right? And things happened in the past when you were a child that was so negative and they affected you. These things can subconsciously be in your head now that it causes you to behave in a way that you don't understand now. Why are you doing this? So for some of us that actually had to go through maybe verbal abuse, physical abuse, something like that, even to the extreme, some of us had to go through things like rape and deep things like that can actually affect the way we think about men, about women, about anything now so far so good in life. So all these things can develop insecurities in you. They can make you feel like you're not worthy enough. They can destroy your self-esteem. They can affect the way you see yourself, the way you see people. So these things from your experience that happened to you when you are a child, these things can subconsciously be in your mind and affect your behavior. So now, okay, yes, things like this happen to some of us when our intelligence was being provoked. Like for me, most of the time I was being told that I don't know better. Anything that I want to say, people will just debunk it and make me feel like I don't have anything tangible to bring to the table. And me being shut up most of the time by people who know more than me, it made me to develop insecurities, and it manifested as low self-esteem. I couldn't just speak up anywhere, anytime, because I felt like I never really had something to say. If most of the time I had experiences of like people making me feel like I don't have anything much to say, like I don't have anything tangible to bring to the table. Of course, this is how I'll definitely behave as I grow up. Even if I want to participate in a group where I have my peers there, I will be afraid to speak up because I don't want to be laughed at. I don't want these same comments to come back at me based on that experience I had when I was a child. But honestly, this is how your insecurities show up. So all of us have our own, experience from our childhood. It can be similar to mine. It can be different. But at the end of the day, all these things can subconsciously be in your head like that. And it's not your fault that you gathered all these information. Like as human beings, the things that happen to us can be the result of like our behaviors. So if these things that happen to us can affect our behaviors, then it's actually necessary for us to redefine these things, because if it's not helping you negatively, if it's not helping you like that, this is something you should want to look into and do something about. And that's why it's necessary for us to redefine these insecurities, because it affects your behavior, it affects the way you see life, it affects the way you see people, it affects your personality, it affects your identity, all these things. But how can you redefine insecurity based on your past experience, like things that happened in your past? How can you redefine all these things? So first off, I want you to understand that you are always on this journey of healing, learning, and growing. right? And that's what this podcast is about. And that's why I feel like personally this is what my life is like away from the podcast. I am always doing this because certain things that happened to me in the past can affect the way I see people and the way I react to the world and the way I react to life. So what I do on a daily basis is I pay close attention to my behavior throughout my life, in whatever thing that I do, and I ask myself questions like, why am I doing this? But this can mostly take place when I'm in that moment where I'm actually doing self-reflection. So yes, self-reflection is the one step that you can take in redefining your insecurities that develop from your past. When you do self-reflection, you get yourself to actually ask yourself questions on why you are behaving the way you are behaving, why you are acting this way, why did your reaction have to be that high in that specific time or in that specific occasion, what is the reason why you can't deliver in public places as much as you like to deliver. Sometimes it's not like you don't want to say things, you really have the right answers most times in your head, but you can just wait until someone says it, and in your head now you are like, I be no so. Why do you do that? Self-reflection gets you to that point where you question yourself why you behave the way you behave. If you are very particular about detaching from such approach, self-reflection can help you to identify where the problem is, because when you identify where the problem is, that's when you know what you are dealing with and how you can go about solving the problem. So after self-reflection, I feel like the next step that you can take is to tap into this resource that I'm going to share with you. One of the things that helped me a whole lot was listening to other people talking about insecurities and anything related to insecurity, most especially the ones that I was dealing with. So the specific insecurities that personally I was dealing with was related to low self-esteem and also related to the way I thought about men. Yes, the things I had in my mind about men, it was a lot. And also particularly my self-image. So I had so much insecurities revolving in these three areas: the way I think about men, the way I think about myself, and also my fear of speaking up and being confident to just be myself. So what I had to do was I tapped into resources like listening to people on YouTube whom are on the same journey of becoming a better version of themselves. And one of the people that I recommend for you is to listen to this person on YouTube that is called The Wizard Liz. She is someone that I feel like I have been engaged with for so long, and I have learned so much from her channel. She speaks so rawly about your insecurities that you can have that you're not aware of, and how you can actually look at them differently. It can come from child abuse, anything related to things that are not making you to be at your best. This particular lady that I'm recommending you to go listen will help you to unpack all these things that are causing you to not be at your best. The other channel I'll recommend for you is Tamcore. Tamcore is someone I came across in my early 20s, and listening to Tamcore has helped me a whole lot to deal with my self-esteem, the way I see myself, and the way I react to this world. She has helped me to get to that point of loving myself so much so that I'm learning how to be obsessed with myself so that I can give the best to others. If you are someone that loves to fill into your cup, then Tamcore is someone that you should be listening to, because she can walk you through that part. So but yeah, let's now tap into the other place your insecurities can stem from. So the other place your insecurities can stem from is from the fact that we compare ourselves with others naturally as humans. So yes, this is something that all of us do. Comparing yourself with others is a very natural thing, because at the end of the day, why you compare yourself to others, why I compare myself with other people, is because they create this benchmark for success. And honestly, these people's reality just gives you a footprint of like where you want to be yourself. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at other people's life and then it's affecting you negatively, then that's the place I don't want you to be. And honestly, I've been there myself, and what I can help you to do about that is, first off, falling in love with myself was something that helped me a whole lot to deal with this negativity that can come from you comparing yourself with others. So falling in love with yourself, what does it help with? When you actually fall in love with yourself and build a relationship with yourself, because falling in love with yourself requires you to build a relationship with yourself. When you get to this part of like doing this, it helps you a whole lot to be in tune with who you are, how unique you are, your values, what you really want out of life, what is happiness for you. Like you really just get to tap into more of like whom you want to be and how you want to go about living your life. And when you are in tune with yourself, the more you do self-assessment, so much so now that you get to know yourself like that, like you are so deep and rooted in your identity, you don't feel the need to want to be someone else. Instead, you look at other people's life and gain from them qualities that you feel like help them to get to where they are at, and probably emulate those qualities into your day-to-day life and get to where you want to be yourself, instead of like hawking over people's life and wishing for you to have their reality. Because at at the end of the day, there is no need. You are uniquely you, and you have so much to offer to the world. If only you can tap into building that relationship with yourself. But honestly, like me talking about building a relationship with yourself, it's not something that you can go about just like that. It's not hard, but at the end of the day, the guidance I can give to you about it is, first off, you have to tap into gaining knowledge about yourself. That's how you can actually get to build that relationship with yourself. Just as you'll be interested in building a relationship with a boyfriend or a girlfriend, that's how you should be interested in building that relationship with yourself. There is so much you don't know about yourself, and it will be shocking for you to realize that there are certain questions that someone can ask you that you don't even know about yourself. But how can you get at this to really start consciously building a relationship with yourself? I'll actually refer you now to 3 apps that I feel has been working for me for the longest of time. The first one is Google. Before I came across the other 2 apps, Google has been the one app that I've been using to get myself closer to myself the more. So what I use Google for is mostly like to ask Google for questions that I can ask myself so that I can get rooted into knowing myself. So these questions can help me a whole lot to like be aware of like where I'm at and where I want to really be in life and the things that matter to me. It has been something I've been doing since 16, 17, 18, and I've been rooted in like building that relationship with myself. Honestly, it has been something that has been happening on and off, but I feel like, you know, getting right into it the more is something that has been happening for me. And the process is like that. You don't have to be all in just as once, but just be dedicated to do something, and at the end of the day you can see yourself becoming so into it the more you get into it, right? So away from Google, the other app that I use is Pinterest and ChatGPT. So Pinterest is the other app I came across, which I fell in love with because what it does for me in terms of like me building a relationship with myself, I use it as a tool that helps me to get more questions that I can ask myself to get to know myself more. These questions can be spiritual related questions, it can be personal related questions, it can be goals related questions, it can be even questions about your inner self, like that inner identity. You asking Pinterest for questions like this can be something that Pinterest can just give you like that. It can come in pictures if you really want to romanticize things. And this is something I've been doing for so long, and it has been helping me to be rooted in my identity. And honestly, the fact that I've been doing this, I don't see myself hawking over people's life and wanting to have their lives. Instead, I see the things that I feel like resonates with me as well, that I can learn from them and still walk on my path flawlessly and uniquely, and try now my best not to like be intimidated by people, feel insecure, and then want their lives. I do not do that anymore. But all of that happened as a result of me building a relationship with myself. And of course, ChatGPT is something similar to all these apps, but it can give you deep insights. That's why I love ChatGPT. So if you get into these 3 apps, you can actually get the result that you might want in terms of building a relationship with yourself. ChatGPT now will help you for even get ideas on how you go build a relationship with yourself the more. But yes, these 3 apps are tools that you can use to help you to develop healthy mindset that can help you to redefine why you should not be in a position of comparing yourself to others and feeling insecure about it at the end of the day. But you go use them now to your advantage for tap into the best version of yourself by building first off a relationship with yourself that will help you to approach other people's success with a healthy mindset. So yes, that's it for the second place that insecurities can come from. So the third place now that your insecurities can come from is from your past failures. Yes, past failures just has this ability to like leave in our heads marks of things that we tried before, it never worked well, and now we are in this position of like, can I do this again? Should I try this again? All these things can just be rotating in your head like that. And I understand, like all of us has been there. We have actually had things that we've set our hearts to do and it never really worked well. But at the end of the day, I feel like what causes us to negatively be affected by our past failures is because of the expectations we had. And it's not your fault actually. It's not your fault for you to have an expectation in your mind like that. And when these expectations are not met, that's why you feel like you failed, because you had a specific target and this target was not something that you met. So like that's how failure works. But at the end of the day, the negative thing that can happen is when you actually consider failure to be something that is you. You consider yourself to be a failure. That one is something that some of us can just do so flawlessly, and I don't think it's necessary, because it's the outcome not happening the way you want it to happen is the failure. It's not you now that's trying to do the thing and then you are just doing your best like that. You are not the failure. Like, so don't attach that word to yourself. It's the outcome that never happened the way you wanted it to happen is the failure, not you. So but now, how can you redefine your failure so that you cannot be in a position of being affected by the insecurities that can can come out of it. And the mindset I have about it is this. In short, I think about them as things that helps me to build a stepping stone for what I really do want out of life, and for me to get the desired result that I really want. Because if it really never worked well for me the first time, then meaning I'm actually being triggered to tap into my potential more and do more and get a very great result at the end of the day. And honestly, that's where your failure leads you to. It leads you to refining your art. It leads you to refining that particular thing that you've been doing. It leads you to that place where you're not settling for what has happened. You should go now and do more and try again. And that's the beauty of like what it means to be human. Because at the end of the day, failure is not limiting you. Failure is telling you that you can do more. Let's do it again. Let's go back again. Let's actually develop more. One of the things that I feel like is a blessing that you should look at this way is this. Whenever something happens, and then it was not what I expected, which is now a failure like that, my expectations not being met. When it happens that way, I feel like at the end of the day, it's a call for me to understand now that character development is going on. Because in that moment now, what you can see happening is I'll be more patient, I'll be more resilient, I'll be more tolerant, and I'll be that type of person that can just adapt to the situation and try to do something about it. All these things are character development that can take place if you decide to understand that failure is not something that should affect you and keep you stuck, or rather you are forced to be in that position where you can actually attract all these human characters that should help you to be the best version of yourself. And guess what happens is this: challenges are going to actually meet you the more. Away from that thing that you feel that they are going to have series of things that are going to meet you that are super challenging. And if you see failure as something that is helping you to tap into character development by developing skill sets, soft ones, hard ones, all these skill sets now that you can just develop like that, it will help you to understand that your challenges now that are coming is not going to be any match for you, because you never settle for the last one. And you tapping into your failure, doing it again and again and again, no matter how long it takes, can actually help you to develop that character that you need for even the tougher challenges that are obviously going to come your way, because life is all about that at the end of the day. So that's the mindset I want you to have about your failures. And the resource I can lead you to that can help you to think about your failure differently is this. So basically, there are certain people I feel like tapping into their history and understanding how it all started for them, how they actually had to encounter failure but never get to that point of accepting that this is who they are and then sticking with it, but they had to go beyond and get to that point of getting the result that they want. But it might scare you to realize that certain people have to go through a lot for years for them to get what they want, and you might consider these people as failure before they got to that point of being successful. But looking at their past, looking at their story will help you to understand that probably you have not even started your journey. Maybe you failed once, you failed twice, but looking at people or hearing stories of people honestly that did it for 10 good years it will blow your mind, and you actually get to that point of being settled. Whenever you get something wrong the first time, you will always understand that there is room for growth, there is room for improvement, because you are not the first one that has been doing this, and other people have been failing before, but still they never relented. They were still on the journey and they got to that point of getting the result that they want. So the ones that I recommend for you are, basically, if you are someone that has heard a lot about Amazon, try to find out how Amazon started. Amazon one, try to find out how they started. Look back on their story and see how these guys took so long to get to where they are at. Away from that, this person will create this bulb. The person will create this bulb. Try to understand how much times it take for get to this conclusion of creating this bulb. It will shock you, because for me it shocked me. It's so interesting how these people are so dedicated in their craft, honestly, and they took that long to get to creating these things that they were so passionate about. And honestly, I feel like so many people had to not just believe in them, but they were still on their craft, their grind, creating things. So if you get in touch with these people's background story, it will help you a whole lot to think differently about where you are at, and this can create a difference in the way you see yourself being in that position of constantly failing. Probably it's not the same thing, but of course you encounter failure and you might want to settle for it, but it's a normal thing now. It happens to everybody, and the least you can do is keep at it and see where you can improve. So these are the people I can recommend for you. If you have any options, if you have any suggestions, if you have more resources, please be sure to drop it in the comment section below. As I mentioned, I am no professional. I am here also as a student of life. I'm learning, I'm still on my own journey. So your suggestions as well can be something I can use, and also other people I believe can learn from it more. And at the end of the day, the result I feel and hope you should get when you are redefining your insecurities is this. It's not like you're not going to feel insecure anymore, but you should act differently. whenever you are being faced with things that are causing you to feel insecure, having a different mindset about it is going to make you to not settle for what it's trying to give to you and just make you feel like this is it, this is the same thing that happened before. You should want to strive to go beyond that, because you are not your experiences, you are not your past, you are not your failure. You understand? Like, you are not these things. So settling for less because these things happen to you is not an option. So since we are on this journey of growing, learning and evolving, please be sure to share this particular episode to whomever or wherever you feel it will be visible, so that other people then will come for can learn something not perfect and get into this whole journey of redefining their insecurities, so that they will get to that point of building a healthy relationship with it. So till next time, don't forget, say this is not a constant journey of reflection, learning and unlearning. So use all these resources to the best of your ability and get results like this when me say they enjoy right now. So because this was not something that came to me so easily, it was something that took time, but I'm very happy I'm here now. And if it happened for me, as Aki say, it will happen for you as well in any other area of your life. So far so good. So yes, growth is real and you also capable for attract them. So that's it. Bye.